Welcome to the Little Beading Closet. I'm Sherry. Today we're going to learn how to make this ring using even count peyote with different sized beads. Let's look the supplies to make the PIPPY Peyote ring. It's going to be size 15 seed beads, size 11 seed beads, 2mm fire polish, and the PIP bead. You'll need 5 feet of wildfire and .006, today I'm using black, along with the size 12 beading needle. So go ahead and get that on my thread and we'll begin. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe. For the PIPPY Peyote ring, we're going to work with even count flat peyote. And we're going to be using 6 beads for our width. First, I'm going to put on a stop bead, so you'll want to pick up a bead that is a different color than everything else you're working with. Bring it down near the end of your thread. And I do want to leave a little bit of a tail so I can work that back into the ring at the end. So I'm just putting my needle through the stop bead and making a loop, putting it on here so it's on, but I can easily get it off later. Starting with our size 15 seed beads, I'm going to pick up 6 to start. So I have the 6 on my needle. I'm just going to bring them next to the stop bead right here. Now you want to pick up one more of your size 15 seed beads, skip the bottom one and needle into the one past it. I'm just going to pull my needle through. Pull everything close and tight up to the stop bead. And you want your 2 beads on the end to sit side by side. Sometimes for the first one that you add, you just have to coax them with your fingers to come into this right place. You can see that they're next to each other there. Now I'm going to pick up one more, skip the next bead, and come into the one after it. So if you do know how to do the flat even count peyote, just continue until you have enough rows that a shape of a band is starting to form. So again, I have my next one on, and you want them to sit side by side. Coming out of this one, skipping one, and you're coming into the very last one next to your stop bead. Now pull this through. And it should look like this, where you have 2, 1, 2, 1, and 2, 1. Now I like to work away from myself, so I'll be turning what I did in my hand, picking up another size 15, and we have this first bead down here and then one to the right kind of sticking out, and that's the one that you'll be going into. Pulling the thread through. Again, picking up another 15 on my needle and coming into the next bead that is sticking out here, just like that. and another 15 into the next bead that's sticking out on the right, which is also the end of this row. So now I have that on, I'm going to turn it in my hand so I'm beading away from myself. It's easier for me. Picking up another 15 and coming into this first one that's sticking out. Come up to the end of this row one more time with you. Another 15 on my needle. Again, coming into the next bead that is sticking out. This is an easy stitch and it's not that hard with size 15s. I use them in this ring so I get a graduation of size when I switch over to the 11s and then the 2mm and PIP beads. So you don't have to have a certain amount of rows to start, but you'll want to just keep going a little further until you have a definite band started. You can see in this one that I had made, the 15s, they start here and they make up the bottom of the band and around to the side. So for your strip of 15s to start, this is the length that I have. It doesn't matter exact because you'll have to size it on your finger at the end. But at this point, I'm going to move on to my size 11s. So you're doing the same thing, but just picking up the size 11 this time. And they fit right in. And they'll help give the ring a graduation in size up to the top of the PIP beads. So I just put on 3 of my size 11s. And I have 1 on this side here. And I want to have 2 11s up here and 2 11s down here. So I'm going to continue a little bit more. I just like the way it graduates in size using the 11s. So I'm going to come up here to the end. And now you can see I have 1 11 on this end and 1 on this end. We're just going to keep doing the peyote stitch until we have 2 11s on each end. So there's 2 on this end. Continue my row. I need 1 more to come through the very end 11 here. Turning my work towards myself again. I only have 1 11 down here, so I do need to do 1 more row. And that will give me the 2 11s on each end that I'm looking for. So get 1 more 11, come through the end, and we're there. 2 11s here, 2 11s here. I'm going to flip my work so I'm needling away from myself and switch to the size 2mm. Now that I have my 2mm True 2 fire polish out, I'm going to start putting those in, picking one up and continuing my peyote stitch along till I get to the other end. And I'm going to flip my work. Working my way back one more time. You can see there's 1 on this end and 1 fire polish on this end. And continue doing this. until you have 3 fire polish beads on each end. So you'll have 3 on this end and 3 on this end. Picking up the last fire polish I'll be using at the moment and coming through the end bead, you can see that there are now 3 fire polish beads along this edge and 3 along this edge. This is the point that we're going to be switching over to the PIP bead. So now we're going to pick up a PIP bead and come into the first sticking out size 2mm fire polish. So we'll go ahead and put our 3 PIP beads in along this edge. And the third one. So I'm going to turn my work, picking up a PIP bead. I'm going to needle into the PIP bead that's here. I continue doing this up the row, trying to make sure everything is tight along the way. So picking up a PIP bead and coming into this one right here before the end. And again, picking up one more PIP bead and coming into the end. At this point, I'm going to be picking up, turning my work so it's towards myself. At this point, I'm not going to be turning my work. I'm just going to be picking up another PIP bead and not coming into this one, but it will be this one right here. So needle through this one. Again, pick up a PIP bead. I'm not going into this one. I'm coming into this one right here. And again, one more PIP bead. This time coming into the one that's sort of down here on the end. You want your thread to sit here in the middle. And this is going to make the top of our ring. So now we're going to be moving back on to the size 2mm fire polish. Picking up a 2mm fire polish. I'm exiting this PIP bead down here on the end. I'm going to come into this one above it right here. That'll be the first one. We're going to be picking up another fire polish, coming into this PIP bead right here. So that's our second one. Picking up one more fire polish and coming into this last PIP bead up here on the end. Maybe a little difficult to see, but now we have placed 3 fire polish here. 1, 2, and 3. So go ahead and pick up another fire polish. I'm going to turn my work towards myself and come into this last one that I just added. Right here. Again, picking up another fire polish, coming into this one right here between these two PIP beads. Picking up one more fire polish and coming up to this one on the end. So we're on the other side of our band. If we look at it as this being one side, the middle of the PIP beads, and now we're on our other side. So again, I'm going to turn my work. It's harder to hang on to, but I'm going to pick up another fire polish and come into the next sticking up fire polish. So if you look at them, it's not the one on the end, but the one beside it. Again, another fire polish into the next sticking out fire polish. One more, and into the very end sticking out fire polish. Pull my needle through. And again, you want to work with your fire polish beads until you have 3 on this edge and 3 on this edge. So just continue with your even count peyote. I continued with my even count peyote until I have 3 fire polish on the end, here and here. Now I know I'm ready to move on to my size 11 seed bead. So getting some of those out. Now switch over to the size 11. Continue your even count peyote until you have 2 11s on this end and 2 on the other end. I continued with that until I had 2 11s on this end and 2 11s on this end. Now I'm going to graduate down to the size 15 seed beads and add some length until I have enough to wrap around whichever finger I would like to make the ring for. So I just need to continue with 15s until I meet this end. I'm working on the 15s and I still have a little ways to go. I want to go until I can easily bring these two together. So a few more rows. I continued working on my ring and have it a size that I need to fit around my finger when I pull my 2 ends of the band together. There's one more thing that you need to check before you can zip up your peyote band, and that is, will it line up? Is it ready to zip up? The way it works, you have 1 bead on this band in, and then you have your sticking out, your end sticking out. You want the other side to be the opposite of that. In this case, we have out, sticking in, out, sticking in, out, sticking in. So as long as the 2 sides are opposite and can come together, when you zip it up, you know you're ready. If not, you may have to add just 1 more row so they're opposite. When you have that together, to zip it up, you're coming out of one side of your band and you need to go into the other side of your band. So where you're coming out this one you're going to needle into the very end on your other band side. And pull this through. So they're sitting side by side. So we're coming out of maybe the right side here of the band. And then I'm going to come into the next sticking out bead on the other side of my band. Pull this together. And then I'm going to come into the next sticking out bead on the right side of my band. Hanging on to it. Pulling it together. So you can see how it's starting to come together. So I'm going to come into the sticking out bead in the next row on this side. Come through there. Giving it a slight tug, pulling it together. So now I'm going to come to sticking out bead on this side. Like that. It's just like teeth of a zipper coming together. And then one more sticking out bead on this side, here on the end. Just like so. Now what I want to do is remove my stop bead. I'm just going to kind of pinch it between my fingers and pull it off. That's off. Hold my tail out of the way. Coming out of this delicate, or this size 15 seed bead here at the end, I'm going to come into the 15 that I just took the seed bead off of, my stop bead. So you're needling into the 15 that has the tail. Now we're essentially all zipped up, but we do have to make some passes through here to make sure it stays secure and tight. So you want to needle through your beads in such a way that you don't see the thread. So you can needle diagonally through a few beads. So that's what we'll do. I'll come into the one beside it and on a diagonal through a few beads. Right like that. Sometimes you need to do one at a time. So I needled through those on the diagonal. Now I'm going to do another way that you can needle through your work without showing your thread. So I'm coming out of this 15 right here on the right of it. So I can go into the right of the 15 below it, through that 15. And again, that will make the thread hide between the beads. And you might want to zigzag back and forth. So we're coming out the left of this 15. We can go into the left of the 15 below it. And I went on a diagonal through 2, which is fine because the thread will not show on the diagonal. And I'm just going to keep working my thread back and forth through my band a ways. And then I'll put my needle on the tail and do the same with that before I cut off my thread. So, size 15s, 11s, 2mm fire polish and pip beads. Put it all together and you get this cute little sparkly ring. I hope you enjoyed it and get to make one really soon. Until next time, have a beautiful day and enjoy your beading projects.